I share with you this morning a letter to my children. Today I would begin by saying to each of you what every parent wants to say, that you will never know how much I love you, except perhaps at the point where you might have your own child and then the utter terror of that love will take your breath away. Each of you came into my life in a different way, and each is a different channel of joy. And yet you are to a one, amazing and perplexing and wonderful, if each in their own way a little odd. As your parent, I love you, I want to protect you, and I'm very scared for you in this world in which we're living. I wanted to give you a perfect world, the world that would seek that sense of a child. Can I just say publicly for all of us parents that we have totally sucked at doing this? And I am sorry. I'll keep trying. And at least one of you is already a better activist than I am, so there's hope in that. Hope. And the courage it brings lives between us. I am in a generation of parents who thought that we knew something that our parents did not. Oh wait, maybe that's every generation of parents. Well, anyway, our version was we thought we knew the mistakes our parents had made, and we thought we weren't going to make them, and oh wait, maybe that's every generation of parents as well. Well, we were the generation of parents that were not going to be rigid or distant or not cool and all of that. We were going to give our kids all the opportunities we didn't have, and we enrolled them even in soccer so they wouldn't be the last ones picked at kickball. Many of us were the first generation where divorce had been common in our childhood, and those who were privileged to assume the basic right of marriage pledged to make our marriages last no matter what for our children. We volunteered in the classrooms. We never met a science project we couldn't conquer. We were the generation who had been known, some of us, to call the prospective employers of our children and yell at them for not hiring our children. And I just want to go on record that whatever my faults, and you'll know them all in the next few minutes, I have many, but this is not one of them. Go on your own darn job interviews. We are the ones who read What to Expect When You Are Expecting, so we would know all the answers and not leave anything to chance. And can I just say that labor may be something you plan for, but when it comes, most of the theories you've studied did not really stick with me. I did not feel the calm that baby yoga and Lamaze had promised. I do remember during the 9th hour of labor, which led to the birth of one of you, looking at a nurse and declaring, "Never mind, I can't do this." Like there was a choice at that point. The birth wasn't perfect. 2 of you were born under special circumstances. 1 of you had time in the special care unit. And from that very moment, you'd think, I would have learned, that being a mom is really about what to expect when what you aren't expecting shows up. Today is Mother's Day, and despite the Blue Mountain E-card sentiments, this was never supposed to be a day for sugary, sappy honoring. Instead, we were supposed to be fierce in our protection for our sons on this day, which was started by Unitarian Julia Ward Howe. This is very binary. It's very gender-specific 19th century stuff. And yes, you remember that she wrote the Battle Hymn of the Republic, which is kind of ironic because she created this holiday as a Mother's Day of peace. She thought that mothers were most likely to stop the bloody carnage that was the war between the states and which was claiming so many of their sons. And you, my youngest, do not roll your eyes. Even in saying this letter, I know you are as you read this. I know you've had to sit through too many of my Mother's Day sermons, and you already know that story. I know the first rule of parenting is don't preach at your kids, but this is an occupational hazard. So can I just say, while we're here, that it bears repeating that that part about looking after our sons in this world where too many are losing their sons, their daughters, their genderqueer and transgender kids to violence of many types is worth thinking about today in 2017. And okay, I will stop. Do not sigh like that. You know how I am. That is why one of you was in anti-racism training when you were in grade school, and another demonstrated for marriage equality in preschool. I digress. What I would like to say to you in this letter is that now that you are all basically adults, I have learned a few things that it probably would have been helpful for me to have known several decades ago. Timing is everything, but still, I am always eager to grow as a person and a parent. Cultural critic and feminist Bell Hooks reminds us that love is a verb and lifts up M. Scott Peck's definition of love, which is encouraging the expansion of spirit in another. Encouraging the expansion of spirit in another. I, for one, am sorry for all those times I thought other things were more important than spirit and love, like school and grades and work, and the two-parent is always better middle-class myth, and what people thought and what I feared, which was deep as the daughter of a man scarred by oppression in his earliest years. And I'm grateful to Dr. Brad Reedy, who is an author and a parent educator, who says that parents need to love their children's journeys even on the rockiest points. He has helped me to consider that even on those hard patches, we might be right where we need to be, because it's an invitation to growth and spiritual expansion. Here we are in another fabulous and fortunate growth opportunity. No, I know, you've heard that expression used a different way, but we don't use that word in this house. Oops, there I go, back on that slippery slope of parental self-righteousness. I wish I was more of a bowl, a place where you could drop whatever is in your pockets that is collected through your days, a place which will hold what is in your life rather than needing something else to be. In The Gifts of Imperfection, a book which one of you introduced me to, Brené Brown says that when we can accept the imperfections of the world and our own imperfections, then we get the gifts of imperfections, which are courage, compassion, and connection. No parent is perfect, and before you get too smug, no child is either. What we need is to approach these places of imperfection without shame. I know from my work how many hide the difficult times from everyone, and especially from church. That's part of our dominant culture, and it denies us the ability to be in brave space together. I, as a parent, now know that I can't protect you from everything that will happen, and my inability to do so is not shameful, and your inability to do so is not shameful. And what would it be like if we could walk with other families that know that place in the road? I also now aspire to be a mirror to the truths of your experience. Too many times I get caught up in that great boulder-carrying parental myth that our job is to hand down wisdom. And though I and my peers are the generation that knows that father doesn't always know best, still we fall into that trap sometimes. And if this particular series of painful journeys in this year which will not behave has taught me anything, it is that I have no idea what skills you and your friends will need to navigate the worlds you live in, because everything is changing. Reedy says if we just eliminated imperatives, you should, you must, you will, from our parenting lexicon, communications would increase a tremendous amount. In a time of so much fear and uncertainty, you, my children, need to be heard. You and your peers are responding, especially male-identified ones, who are still told now in a media culture that they can't be scared, and they are acting out. We act out when our truth isn't heard, the deep listening of compassion is my promise and my pledge. I'd like to be able to hold a shape as a parent, not to be a shapeshifter going with every whim and culture. I would like to be, in my shape, a heart. Because the one thing I wanted, what I think every parent who is not too ill or depressed, addicted or stressed wants, is to be that source of unconditional love. Unconditional love is not without boundaries. That's why I want to have a shape. The boundaries are like the outline of the heart. They keep the love from spilling out and being lost on the ground. Brené Brown says, compassionate people are boundaried. If we really want to practice compassion, we have to set boundaries and hold people accountable. The love, though, should never be in doubt, and it is not conditional. It is not to be confused with the respect, which is what I now know I should feel when one of you do something that makes me joyful. Not proud. That would mean that it was something I had done, but respect. Because I am very glad to witness your accomplishments, and they are always yours and not mine. Some people say we are the parents who have tried to live all the lives we didn't, to find all the love we didn't know in our childhood through our relationships with our children. And that is something we should ponder. As a heart, though, I would have a crack in me, because life breaks your heart open. If you live in it, sometimes a little, sometimes a lot. I've had a hard time letting go of the fact that I am actually not supposed to remove all the pain and obstacles from your lives. Brad Reedy says too many parents today see that as their project, see their child as their project. The biggest truths I can give you are where I still struggle and where I am still totally uncool and clueless. I'm glad to be part of all of your lives when you are struggling as much as I am when you are soaring and performing. Author Brené Brown says that imperfection gives us gifts. And I remind you again, those gifts are courage, compassion, and connection. Finger paints and pipe cleaners. I'm glad we use those a lot. I'm glad that we had all those blanket forts and stuffed animal censuses and the times when we sang in the car, and that we painted toenails and we played board games and card games and we cooked together a lot. And we took walks with dogs. And still, despite all of that, I can't keep you safe or ensure for you a journey of my making and planning. Allowing our children to have their journey comes in part when we recognize our own journey, Brad Reedy says, and when we embrace all the aspects of our path, we learn to value the struggle and the setbacks, and not just the triumph. So, while this may sound like everything goes parenting, I also want to tell you that I pledge to be an immovable object, especially when things happen to you that are hard, or maybe when you're most doubting yourself. I will be an immovable, heart cracked open touchstone to be there when you encounter life's challenges, or at least that is my aspiration. I will be faithful to my values, the values which have held two of you since you were very young, the values which are about respecting others, and the larger societal values about honesty and interdependence, because no love can flourish in a lie. So sometimes, when I'm being immovable, we are going to disagree. And you will not like my decisions, and that is okay. And sometimes I will not like your decisions, and that is okay too. I have so many hopes for each of you, and yet I want to say with clarity that your hopes and your experience of the world are different from mine. Like the monk and the cat, we work in our parallel lives, each learning from one another, and sometimes in parenting, your child might bring you that present, like a mouse, which you aren't exactly sure what to do with, and yet you take it anyway. My promise to you is to consider the gifts you bring me. Okay, I've been going on for some time now. Stop nodding, please. What I promise you is this, that I will pledge to you the kind of love that is about walking beside you as you expand your spirit, and that I will continue to expand my spirit as an act of faith. What I want to say is that though I'm an imperfect parent, learning the gifts of imperfection in this fearful, fearful world, I also know that love is a perfect answer. Author Bell Hooks helped me see this. She puzzled from childhood on the part of the scripture that says that perfect love casts out fear. She knew that not she nor anyone she knew was capable of anything close to perfect love. But as she mused on it through her studies, through her life, through her own spiritual development, she realized that love was a process, an alchemy. As we love, she wrote, fear necessarily leaves. The transformative power of love is that it gives us the courage to face up to that which makes us most afraid. Because in our deepest loves, we are willing to look at the things we need to see. And in your honor, my children, I promise to keep expanding my love for you and also for myself. As Brené Brown says, we cannot love another if we cannot love ourselves. It is not exclusive to my generation that we were taught that we should be so self-sacrificing for our children that we woke up to discover that we didn't remember what it was that we valued in our own lives. Which is why I have always been so grateful to the teachers here and at schools who, at their best, also coax the butterfly wings of spirits open. So sometime, maybe even for a few minutes today, I hope you can take into your hearts that you are beloved and that you don't have to do anything to be loved or to be valued. What would the world be like if we all had that experience, at least a little, as a child? I hope that everyone who has a child or who has been a child, which expands it a little, in the sanctuary today will know this blessing, if only for a moment. I hope we will, parents and children, know ourselves to be precious and flawed, beautiful and blemished, manifestations of the love that binds us each to the other. That courage, that compassion, and those connections can be ours if only we allow them in. My beloved children, I love each of you beyond words. Love, Mom.